Hey, and welcome to the first video in my series on Mythic Games Time of Legends Joan of Arc board game. We're starting with the Footknight, which is one of 18 of the models that are in the game. Scale for these models is quite small compared to what you normally see. So, considering your warhammers and stuff like that, they're quite a lot smaller. Makes for an interesting challenge. So yeah, what we're going to do is basically you're going to go step by step, trying to get somewhere near the artist that did the game, did the painting for the game, Seb Levine, or however you say his name. I apologise if I get it wrong. So he actually has done lots of individual models. I've not seen if he's done more. So probably goes a bit further than you need to for the bulk models, but hey, you do something, go whole hog. So yeah, you can, I'll say it several times through the thing, no doubt, but follow it through to a point you feel comfortable. Try some new techniques. I did. I'm this first time painting a model of this scale, and it's also not the first time, but I'm still quite new trying non-metallics, and I do a bit of that on the armour and such in this. So the steps we're going to take, the model's already primed. I unfortunately got excited when I bought the game, primed them all with a rattle can, and it wasn't the best priming in the world. I wish I'd kind of done it with the airbrush. That's how I prefer to prime now. So yeah, so it's been primed a grey, then a white zenithal. Yeah, but I've put a black wash over it to try and help bring back some of the detail that was lost from the priming, which is why I'd recommend airbrush priming them if you can, because it tends to be a bit thinner, especially for smaller models with quite a lot of detail. From there, we'll put in the base colours, do a wash, and then we'll start highlighting up through the stages and building up the non-metallic metals. If you don't feel comfortable doing non-metallic metals, ignore those sections and just whack in a metallic colour of your choice. A basic like lead belcher with a wash over it looks fine, especially at this scale. So feel free. Now sit back, relax and enjoy the show, guys. So the first step on this lovely model is basically putting in the base colours, as we previously said. So we've got lots of colours to go through. We have his tunic, we've got various belts on the back as the sword, and we've got various metals in the shield, so forth. So our first step is let's block in this tunic. So I'm using deep red from scale 75, so we don't have to be too neat with this. Just slap it on, slightly watered down, so something to be aware of. Always recommend watering your paints down, even for your base layers. Note, when you are doing this with watered down paints, it might look a little patchy to start with. Acrylic paint is naturally wants to be translucent, so we're going to have to put multiple layers on to build up the colour to the intensity we want. It's this that we can use to advantage when painting, because it gives you lots of abilities to apply filters using different paints and the like. Remember, we don't need to be particularly neat at this stage either. Do your best, obviously, but we can always come back and fix any mistakes later on.
And that's that first step done. Now, our next step is we're actually going to use some flat black on the armour. As we're going to build up the colour on that later on. But as a first step, we want this to be re-blackened. And there we go, we've blackened the armour on there. So my next step is brown. So I've got scale 75 brown leather. Remember, I'm saying I'm using scale 75. That's my preferred choice, but it's your choice at the end of the day what paints you use. There are equivalents for all different ranges. Every painter has their preference. I've just grown accustomed in my time to using scale 75. And obviously with the heraldry on these guys, I mean, medieval times it was a bit loose. It's quite expensive to outfit an army all the same. Missed his backhand there, the back of the shield. I believe these are wood. Oh, they are now. My choice. My model's my choice. It is rather interesting trying to keep a 15mm model in focus, or whatever scale these are. Going back in with the black just to catch his hand back there. I will go back in later on and put the leather colour back in as well. Now, for the other metallics, like his chainmail and his armour, I'm using bearing blue, which is kind of a lighty grey turquoise blue, turquoise, you know what I mean. It's very Space Wolves grey for you GW people. Okay, now on to the bits I'm going to do gold. So I'm going to use an orangey brown colour, which is in this case orange leather. Wherever I'm putting this is going to be gold eventually. This is definitely going to need multiple coats. Quickly go back in, fix some of the areas I've missed. Which is also a reason why we use multiple coats. There we are. Just going to carry on from this point and do a second layer, just to properly fill out the colours. I won't record that because it's just what I just did. So yeah, on to that. And we're back. So the next stage, after doing the basic blocking out of the colours, is apply a wash. Nice and simple. So this is the Army Painter Strong Tone, which is quite strong, and we're just going to apply this over everything. So this is quite glossy when going on. Make sure it gets into all of the recesses. So this will help us as we go. Oh, don't want too much on the brush though. You can be quite liberal with this, but don't. These are quite small models, remember, until you get to the big beasties. So be a little bit cautious when applying. You'll notice as well, the shield, I blocked in with a white. It was the White Sands by scale 75. I realised I'd missed that as we were going. There we go. Take that last little bit. So as you'll see, that's a rather easy step, and it'll get a lot of the detail that we might have covered if we've been a little bit too thick, which obviously we try to avoid with the thin paints. Yeah, so we'll get this dry and then we'll move on to the next steps. So a note at this point, I mean, if you went back in and maybe the black with a metallic colour, like one of the metallic paints, and applied a wash over that instead of going for what we're going for with this model, which you'll see as we go. We're going for the Seb Levine look, as we've stated previously. So obviously that's a little bit of non-metallics, which on a 15mm model is kind of hard and forgiving. But yeah, as I was saying, if you went in with just a metallic colour, GW's lead belcher say, and then put the wash over it, you could literally call this model done and be happy with it, blitz the rest, and you'll be ready to go. Obviously we're going to take it further. Another key point is, we've hit this point. What I'd do now is, at the wash stage, I'd have gone and done all the others with a mix of colours as well, because it's medieval times. So you could use blues, greens, anything you wanted, just to mix up, because medieval uniforms were a bit all over the place. As I previously said, it was kind of expensive to try and outfit everyone the same, so not all the lords and stuff could afford it. So you get to be a little bit crazy, have a little bit of fun. You can see, like on this model, it's got the lines in the tunic. You could do different colours, green and white. So have fun and get all of them to the stage. It shouldn't take too long. I mean, overall, a bit of faffing around by cameras and stuff like that, it's taken me, what, 40 minutes. It's a lot less than the recording, obviously, because I'm going to speed up and cut out parts. Like I said, so if you did that, say 20 minutes a model, if you just hit the colour as well, so black or metal, orange, all of it, it's going to be a lot quicker. So I believe there's like 18 of these in the box in the core set. You can just get them all done in one go. So yeah, back in a bit. So there we go, it's all dry. We can start to see we've got the definition back in the lines. We can see the dots and stuff in the chainmail. Obviously he's a little bit glossy because the army painted wash is a little bit glossy. But we're going on to the next step, which is the first highlights on the armour. So in this case, I mixed a bit of Abyssal Blue into the black, and this will be onto the raised areas of his armour where the light might start catching it. So again, you don't have to be too over the top with this. These are rather small minis. So I'm after anything that looks kind of raised. So if you're wondering about the mix, I'm not going to say it was anything like 50-50 or anything like that. It's quite a loose mix. I just put a dollop next to my dollop of black and went for it. So do what feels right for you. With the helmet, I'm actually going to go for kind of like almost a quartered effect. Sounds a bit weird, but like, again, being quite loose with that quartering. So you can see I've hit the top bit here, so top bit here, and the back bit here. Obviously I'm going to get the ridges of his armour as well. Quite difficult to see, but you can kind of start seeing it on the legs and stuff there. So on to the next step from that, to the armour. I've actually added a bit of pale skin into the previous blend, because it's not quite as harsh as going straight for white, while still lighting it up. So we're going to not fill out the entire area as before. So it's almost like painting inside the lines we've already made, the areas we've already painted. Again, we're aiming for where the light might catch, so aiming more towards the raised areas. You can see me here doing very light streaks into the darker areas. I mean, I'm barely touching the model. What that does, it kind of gives a little bit of a scratchy effect. So yeah, that's the next step done. So the next step again is adding more of our pale skin colour into the previous blend. So just getting lighter and lighter. So this will be our final highlight stage. Now this is quite light, so this is more mixing the colour into the pale skin, almost like the other way around. And this is almost aiming for thinner lines, catching the outlines of our highlights. So our next step is going to be the tabard. So we're going to start lightening us up again. So we're aiming to be a bit neater, leaving the recesses darkened. So this will help really define the shape of the tabard. I say that, it's not a tabard, is it? It's just a tunic, not a tabard. I'm an idiot. I'm sure someone watching this will tell me I'm probably wrong on that as well. But hey ho. Just doing a second layer to help build up the intensity. So our next step is we added the pale skin we were using before into our red. Just to lighten them up and desaturate the colour a bit, so aiming for the higher points. So we can go back to the chainmail now. This is going to be interesting. So we're going back to our original blue colour, and we're going to try and actually mark out the chains. So very light brushes. Now, on the axe, I'm going to do a kind of like an arc of the original colour. And then on the opposite side, so follow the edge round, and then do that, leaving some of the shadow colour. Now, weapon non-metallic metals is something I'm still learning, but the only way you learn is by doing. So a key thing to remember with painting, you can always paint over it again. So on here, I'm always going to do a quarter effect again. Just do a stripe in the middle there. We'll be going back to the armour. Something I'm going to pick out now is these two little studs. Using our mid grey followed by our light grey. I'll be very careful when I'm painting the gold around that. Now, this is an interesting step. So I've taken some fall green, mixed it with the white sands to create a very, very thin glaze. If you look on my thumb, you can barely see it. So what I'm attempting to do is now blend this. So with the glaze, you want to bring it towards the lightest point. So this is just to reinforce the shadow, the highlights a little bit, and add a bit of visual interest. Now glaze, like we saw, is very thin, so this will not have too much of an effect. Glazes do have the advantage, it helps start to blend things together. So always pushing the brush towards the lightest part, because where you remove the brush from the model is where you'll leave most of the paint. Another key bit is try not to go over the same area too much, preferably not at all, but I'm naughty. We all do it, we all forget where we just painted. Yeah, you have to let each layer of the glaze dry before going over it again. Dry fully. You probably barely see any difference from that. I'm going to do that a couple more times just to reinforce it all. So going back to the axe and such, the chainmail on the axe is still looking a bit too blue. So what we're going to do is start glazing in some, so the blue, still looking a bit too blue on the axe and the chainmail. So on the axe we're going to start glazing in some grey. The blue will add some visual interest for us. So this grey was one of the mid greys we previously used on the armour. Start to bring this back to a more metallic-y colour. Now we're going to go back to kind of almost where we added the first blue to our black. Glaze that out a bit. Aim for that in the darker areas. Remember moving the brush to where we want it to be darkest. Now we're going as far as glazing in the black. And now while it's still wet, get the grey. Start blending it all a bit together. You can actually get a bit of white sand. Start very lightly catching the edge. What we're going to use as well. Now this is going to be an interesting experiment. Catching the links in the chains with the white sands to help define them. Patience is key here. Probably not talking as well. There we go, you can start to see the links in the chain. Went a little too far with the highlights on the weapon. So we're going to get some of our grey again. Bring that back in. Just very watered down, just to dilute the edges a bit. onto the gold now. So I've got some Sahari yellow. The wrong brush. Oh, no. And I'm just going to bring that into the gold areas. The lovely thing about yellow is it will take several passes. Now, instead of going lighter, like a lighter yellow, we actually just grab some of our pale sands to desaturate the colour. Because we're aiming for the reflective look. This is on the highest points. Now what I'm going to do, some very thin, pure white sands, or as dots, just to define the edges. So the next section is going to be a bit of fun. So mixing some of the black into the dark red we used before. And making a glaze out of it. And what we're doing, that sort of red here is putting this into the shadows. On the armour. For one, it will remove some of that annoying sheen of the wash. Now for some fun detailing. I'm going to put some black dots. Grab some Tenier yellow in those dots we've just done. I'm going to put this on top. On the shield, I'm going to grab our dark red from before. I mean, you can obviously do whatever symbol you want at this point. Just a matter of going backwards and forwards, cleaning it up. So now I've got that. I'm going to go in with the white sands. Now, that we haven't done the leather, so I'm going to mix some of the white sands into the brown we used, and instead of like covering this on, kind of just do some very thin lines, just like hashing, or stippling. Basically, because we want it to be leather, we don't want it to be too even. On the wood, we can just hit the lighter areas. We'll leave the leather as is. Actually, no, as I lie. And there we are, people. That is the finished model. Now, obviously, there's quite a lot of detail for what is one of the bulk miniatures in the game, but you can take it as far as you want. So, go the whole hog like I have, or stop at any point you feel comfortable. Ignore the non-metallics and just do metallics. The choice is yours, but hopefully this has helped. Yeah, I will get some neat pictures of this put up so you can have a visual aid. And well, if you enjoyed, please hit subscribe and tell me what model you'd like to see next from the core set. Which one will it be? We'll find out. So yeah, hit like and subscribe. See you again soon.